Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today's the 27th of February 2019. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, traditionally, we need to have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the CAC40, the French index. Looking at this, certainly we're still in, the index remains still in this rising channel formation that has been running here from around the end of December. But what's more interesting here is, and looking at this 4-hour chart, at this level right here, the 5,240 area approximately there continues to hold the price down on CAC40 here, and of course, and this is what we're going to be keeping a close eye on. If we see a push above that, then yep, that's wonderful for the bulls. We could see this one traveling further up here, but you can see that it's currently trading around its pivot, around today's pivot, and it's kind of struggling to move either way, either to the downside nor neither to the downside nor to the upside. Now, in terms of the downside here, what we're keeping a close eye on is, of course, this 5,200 level approximately there. Now, a nice good drop below that, of course, could potentially signal further declines, could allow the bears to jump in here potentially, but certainly the downside could be short-lived if this index fails to drive below this lower side of this rising channel formation. So for now, we remain somewhat more neutral, and we're going to continue observing these key areas here. On the upside, of course, is the 5,240 level that I've just mentioned, and on the downside is the 5,200 level. So a nice drop below that could potentially send this index lower. So we're at least towards this upside support. Should I say the lower side of the rising channel formation. So keep your eyes on that one. Very interesting index. Other indices are kind of more on the bearish side, but this one kind of continues to hold here. Let's see how this performs later on. Jumping into Aussie dollar now, the AUDUSD is taking a hit today, so Aussie is the worst performer today, and you can see that it's traveling. It initially was trading above its pivot, but of course everything changed and in the middle of the day, middle of the European trading day, and then you can see that it started sliding, or actually no, it changed everything in the morning, during the European morning, and it started sliding lower, dropped below the pivot, and found good support near this area that I was talking about in one of my previous videos, and that's around the 0.7150 level. So it's also around its S1, so this is where the holdup occurred. For now, of course, for us to consider further declines, as you probably understood now, we need to see a nice good drop below the 0.7150 level, and only then we will target slightly lower areas. This is, of course, where we could then aim for the 0.7120, but if that's not enough, then yep, further declines towards this good area of potential support here near the 0.7080 level. You can see that how well it played here, its role of support back here on the around the 21st of February and also around the 24th of January. So that's why, guys, for now, keep your eyes on the 0.7150. If it fails to withhold, then yep, further declines are possible. But if this decides to reverse back up here, now in order for us, let's say, to get more comfortable with higher levels, we would like to see this one traveling back above the 0.7183 area approximately there. But to be honest, to be honest, we could in a way adjust this level a little bit here towards the 0.7190. Now this way we could, if we see a nice good push above that, then we could probably expect this one to travel a little bit higher here. We do have a nice good other area of resistance around the 0.7205 approximately there, but to be honest, if it already will manage to travel above the 0.7190, then might as well actually go and hit this downside resistance line that has been running here for quite a while, and that has been running here from around the highs of June last year. So that's why keep your eyes on that one. But again, for now it seems that the upside could be slightly off the table. So for now, keep your eyes on the 0.7150 level. NZDCAD, another bad performing pair, or should I say maybe more of a currency. So the NZD dollar, so the New Zealand dollar, is struggling today and getting hit hard, especially looking at this picture where the Canadian dollar is more on the stronger side today, and of course with the weakening New Zealand dollar, you can see this is what the effect we received here on NZDCAD. I was talking about this about this pair this morning, and we were still trading around the pivot here somewhere. So basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 0.9060 level. A break below that could potentially drag this one further down, and of course this is what happened. So basically this scenario kind of played out nicely here. We saw this this pair breaking below the 0.9030 and now reaching the 0.90, the psychological 0.90 level. So perfect touch here. For now, of course, we're just going to continue monitoring this. It's already quite, well, let's say, overextended to the downside a little bit, but to be honest, if this continues to drop below the 0.90 level, now we will target the S3, today's S3, which is around the 0.8985. Now this could be that level where the holdup could occur. Overall, of course, you can, if you still remember, we are still trading within this range here between the 0.8915 and the 0.9110 areas, approximately there. So basically, if this decides to travel further down, and if it starts testing this little low here around the 0.8960 level, now this is where the bull should remain very cautious, because a break below that could send towards this lower side of the range at around 0.8915, and this is where we could test then. But first, of course, we need to see a couple of breaks here to the downside first before we can assume a retest of this lower side of the range. So for now, guys, because we're quite, well, let's say, overextended here to the downside, we could at some point we could see maybe a bit of a correction here back up here. But if let's say if the bulls fail to drive this one back above this level right here, about the 0.9060 level, now this is, of course, for now we're going to remain somewhat more bearish than bullish, and like I said, we will continue targeting lower areas. But for now all eyes are on the 0.90, the psychological 0.90 level. Let's see how that performs. If it continues to hold, maybe we'll see that little retracement earlier, and if, let's say, if it fails to drive above the 0.9030, then we could see the bear stepping in here again and driving this one lower. So but of course, for now, this is looking more bearish than bullish. GBPNZD, now this is skyrocketing today, and of course it's close, and it's already almost testing this key area of resistance near the 194.25 level, marked here by the highs of the 24th of January, or in other words, the highest point of January. So basically this is where the pair is now. It is, like I said, it's already kind of almost testing this level. Probably might overshoot it a little bit, but slightly above that we do have the R2, which is around the 194.30. So keep your eyes on that one. Basically for now, of course, this is looking very strong and very bullish. Let's see where the day is going to end, but the big question here is, of course, will it actually manage to drive further up here and you know, close the day above this 1.9425 level. Of course, that's going to be very interesting to watch. certainly again the pound is today the strongest, and of course with the weak New Zealand dollar, that's the effect that you get, that's the result that you get. And we see the GBPNZD skyrocketing here today, initially traveling from around the 192 level, and now almost 230 pips already on the upside. So let's see if we actually get some retracement, a little bit of retracement. That would be very interesting to watch. So for now, of course, be very cautious with this one. You can see that it's already hitting the R2. Now the big question here is this going to travel further up here, or actually did it have enough, and we will see a bit of correction here to the downside. So keep your eyes on that one. Very tricky pair, but like I said, be very careful with this one. USDJPY, now looking at this one, and I was talking about this as well in one of my recent videos, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this, because basically we were still trading above this upside support line, which kind of the pair failed to even reach, and reversed earlier from this level right here around the 110.40. So now it managed to get back above the pivot. Certainly that's a good sign for the bulls. We could see more of them jumping in maybe tomorrow if this pair remains above this pivot today. We could see maybe this one traveling back towards this 110.90 level. Now this is where it will become a little bit more interesting for more bulls, because if this gets a push above the 110.90, now probably, like I said, we could see more of the buyers jumping in here and potentially leading towards the pair towards the 111.20, which was the recent high here. And if that fails to withhold, then yep, the pair could would confirm a forthcoming higher high here, confirm a higher high if it gets a break here above the 111.20. But of course that's a bit of a still of a somewhat, let's say, a bit of a long shot. For now, all eyes are on the pivot, today's pivot, and where the pair is going to close the day. And of course, if this level right here, if we see a nice good break above the 110.90, now this is where, like I said, it could become even more exciting for the bulls. Jumping into USDCAD, now this one is again testing this upside support line that I have mentioned in a few times already in my previous videos where I was covering USDCAD. Now basically this is of course very tricky right now. It did slide lower yesterday, continued sliding lower today, managed to find its good support here near the 131.20 level, also around this upside support line. Now for now, what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to just continue observing this, continue monitoring it, because if this decides to break below the 131.20 level, it does have some other potential areas of support here slightly lower, like for example the 130.85 level. But if that fails to withhold, then yep, we could see maybe this one traveling all the way down initially towards the 130.50, and then maybe towards the psychological 130 level again. So last time the 130 level was tested was tested around October, in the end of October last year. So that's why, guys, for now, be very cautious with this one. In terms of the upside, well, we would like to see this one move back above, of course, initially back above the 131.60 and then above the 132 level. But for now, it's tricky in terms of the upside. It would need to make a nice good jump here higher before we can consider further acceleration to the upside, at least in the short term. For now, like I said, it's currently bouncing around this upside support line. Let's see where this day is going to end, and how this day is going to end, and where this pair is going to end up today. Basically, is it going to be below this upside support line, or actually will it remain trading above it, and we could potentially see maybe a rebound and a push back up again. For now, we're more neutral on this one. But we're going to keep a close eye on some of these key levels, key support areas. So yeah, guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.